Imagine losing everything you've ever built in a single afternoon. Your home, your temples, your history. That's exactly what the citizens of Athens faced in September of 480 BC. The unstoppable war machine of the Persian Empire, led by King Xerxes, was barreling down on them. They had a choice: stay and die, or abandon their gods and run. They chose to run. But this wasn't a panicked retreat. It was the most calculated, brutal, strategic gamble in ancient history. Now, why does this matter to you? Because understanding this moment shows you how real power isn't found in stone walls or massive armies. It's found in absolute defiance. I've spent years analyzing ancient military conflicts and structural strategies. What happened in the hills of Attica proves that a nation isn't a piece of land. It's a state of mind. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how the Greeks turned their greatest tragedy into a lethal trap. Let's start with the man who watched it all burn. His name was Hermotimus. He was the chief eunuch to King Xerxes. He wore long, flowing robes dyed in royal purple. Gold jewelry clinked on his wrists. He was perfumed, smooth-skinned, and highly favored by the king. But don't let the luxury fool you. Hermotimus was a man who understood the cold mathematics of revenge. Years earlier, a Greek man had enslaved and castrated him. Hermotimus never forgot. When he ran into that same man years later, he didn't scream. He smiled. He lured the man and his sons into a trap, then forced the father and sons to castrate each other. That was the kind of savage, absolute justice the Persians brought to Greece. Hermotimus knew that when the great king targeted you, he paid you back in your own coin. As Hermotimus rode his wagon over the mountain pass into Athenian territory, he expected a bloodbath. He expected to see thousands of Greek men put to the sword and women rounded up for slavery. But as the dust settled, the scouts returned with baffling news. The farmland was empty. The markets were bare. Think of it this way. An empire of millions had marched 140 miles through Greece, burning temples and executing guides just to punch a shadow. How do you evacuate an entire superpower? It had never been done successfully. Decades earlier, a smaller city tried it, and half the population chickened out and ran back to Persian rule. But Athens was huge. We're talking 150,000 men, women, and children. The man behind the madness was a politician named Themistocles. He didn't plan this at the 11th hour. He planned it a year in advance. He stood before the rowdy Athenian assembly, called for silence, and put it to a vote. The people actually voted for their own exile. They packed up whatever they could carry: clay plates, bronze ladles, jewelry, and family tokens. They left the rest buried in their backyards. Women and children were shipped off to friendly neighboring islands. Every single man of fighting age, from 18 to 59, was ordered onto a warship. Even the rich aristocrats gave up their horses, marched down to the sea, and grabbed an oar. It was a sacred union. Here is the catch. Not everyone left. When the Persian advance guard finally swarmed the city, they found a few hundred stubborn souls left on the Acropolis. These were the ultra-poor, the disabled, and the temple treasurers. They locked themselves behind makeshift wooden barricades made of temple doors. They truly believed the gods would protect them. But it gets worse. The Persians didn't show mercy. They set up camp on a neighboring rocky hill and shot flaming arrows dipped in pine resin straight into the wooden walls. The barricades caught fire. The air turned to choking black smoke. The defenders rolled massive boulders down the cliffs, crushing the Persian climbers. For days, they actually held the line. But the Persians found a hidden, vertical trail up the back of the cliff. When the Greeks saw the enemy cresting the rocks, panic broke out. Some threw themselves off the edge to their deaths. The rest ran into the temple sanctuary, begging the goddess Athena for a miracle. There was no miracle. The Persians broke open the gates and slaughtered every single person inside. Then, they looted the gold treasures and set the entire hill on fire. Centuries of art, faith, and history turned to ash in a single afternoon. Now, why does this matter? Because Xerxes thought he had won. He sent a swift horseman back to Persia to deliver the glorious news. The great city of Athens was dead. But he missed the real threat. Just a mile across the narrow channel, sitting in the harbor of Salamis, was the entire Athenian fleet. 300 warships, packed with angry, displaced men who had just watched their homes burn. Themistocles had intentionally left the city to be destroyed. He knew that by letting the Persians take the empty land, he had lured their massive navy into a narrow, suffocating trap where their numbers meant nothing. The battle for Greece wasn't over. It was just getting started. The Greeks had lost their city, but they hadn't lost their nerve. If you want to see exactly how this desperate naval trap at Salamis unfolded, and how a shattered army pulled off the greatest military comeback in ancient history, click on the video on your screen right now. The real war was about to begin.